Okay, so we have Megan Stanley here with us today with Dogma Behavior and Education Center. So welcome, Megan.
Thank you, Lisa. I'm happy to be here.
Pretty excited to have you. So I wanted to just start off with having you tell us a little bit about your company and what you guys feel makes you truly remarkable in your niche.
Sure. Well, currently we've got 2 facilities in Calgary. So our focus is on dog training. We do day school and we have group classes. We basically have a full range of programs to help dog owners with anything from puppies all the way up to complex behavior concerns if they're dealing with reactivity, fear issues. Our main focus is our urban canine programs, and those are available to any dog, whether your dogs are starting as puppies or you've got adolescents, or even if your dog is suffering from any fear or reactivity. And what those programs focus on is helping dogs to be successful in our very busy and chaotic human world that is not natural. And I think where we're remarkable is that we've really set the standard for dog care and training. So there's no regulations, there's no sort of standard on how people should be operating or running these businesses. And one thing that we do differently is that we are owned and operated by certified professional dog trainers. So we understand canine communication, we understand behavior. So our day school programs and all of our training is focusing on improving dog behavior. And we have the knowledge and the experience to really do that.
Awesome. That's really great. Do you want to tell us a little bit about how you got started and how you kind of got into the industry?
Sure. So my background actually is software development and web design. So I was in a very different world, and I always loved animals, thought I would be a vet. And then I bought my first house so that I could get my first dog and adopted my dog Guinniss. And I had just been starting volunteering with the Calgary Humane Society. I had a business then doing web design, and brought Guinniss home, and he was terrified of the world. So we hadn't seen any of that. He sold himself very well. He was a sweet little guy and seemed quite confident, and brought him home, and people, animals, new objects, everything just scared him. And he dealt with his fear out of reactivity, and he was scary. He was a big black dog that terrified a lot of people. Scared myself because I had no idea what to do with him. And when I started working with him and looking at the time, dog training was very focused on formal obedience and competition. And it was a struggle to find an avenue outside of just basic obedience to really help him on his behavior. So I started looking at facilities where he could go for some socialization. And there's a lot of very well-intentioned people who are dog lovers, but no one who really knew how to address his concerns. So it started with helping Guinniss and really getting him out. And I knew that this sweet boy I had at home could be that same sweet boy. I just had to find the right avenue to get him out into the human world and be able to take him places with me. So I started my work with him, and then in trying to find places to help him, I realized that there was a real need for some qualified facilities that could really help these guys and make sure that they could be successful.
That makes sense. That's an awesome story.
Yeah, and he ended up being really successful. He became kind of my beacon and my inspiration. He attended seminars, and he would go around, and we joked that I maybe overdid it with him. A little bit of he really loved his attention, but he was good inspiration for everyone to see, and that he can really get them through those concerns.
Super, that's great. So kind of over the years, what do you think was your biggest aha moment?
I think probably the urban canine side.
Okay.
So as the industry started to kind of catch up with what we were doing, particularly in the dog training world. So when I first started, dog training facilities, typically how dog trainers were recognized as having experience were the number of ribbons that they had for competitive obedience, which is definitely an important skill, but it didn't really match what we were trying to do with the family dog, which is more. And a lot of dog trainers didn't understand why I had Guinniss, this dog with behavior problems,
Right.
So I was a bit of an anomaly in that sense. So I would say as I brought Guinniss in and we started to see some of the training and catch up, and now it's hard to find a facility where there aren't certified trainers that are teaching.
Right.
However, we really focus on integrating, going past that. So a lot of trainers focus on kind of managing behavior, helping you be somewhat successful at just maintaining the dog, where we really take that urban canine approach and focus on really integrating them into the human world. And Guinniss really taught me that. It's something that we've done different, and it wasn't kind of until the end of his journey that I really recognized the importance and how we did do that differently and what we could offer people at a higher level.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
In terms of business, was there anything that you ever felt maybe held you back?
Probably thinking of myself as a dog trainer for too long, honestly.
Okay.
Right? I was a phenomenal dog trainer. It was great, but I sort of held that persona. I was all these hats within the business, and I don't think I gave myself enough recognition on what I had accomplished on the business side. Okay. So I focused too much in there, and so I think, just realizing that I was a business owner. I built this business, and then focusing on that side of things outside of just the dog training world.
That makes sense. What about your key players? Can you tell us a little bit about them, and what is it about them that positively impacts your company?
My team is definitely that. I think when I first started, I was very passionate about dogs and wanting to give them some better options and be able to help them more than what was currently happening. And I really saw this need to really drive this change and set the standard. So when I had team coming in the beginning that believed in that mission, I still feel that, but it was just overwhelming, that feeling that people actually cared about the same thing and wanted to go and take that same drive. I have some team that have been with me. Haley Dix, who is now my operations manager, she started with me the first year I was open, started part-time, and she's really evolved, and it's been wonderful to have that kind of team member that's been with part of the journey for so long and still looking out at this long mission that we have and vision ahead of us. I have Megan Bold, who's been with me. She was my second longest employee that's been, and she focuses on the puppies. She understands and believes in everything that we do. And then Christina as well, who's one of my managers. So I've got some really long-term, all the teams they've developed. We've got this amazing team right now, and I would say they're kind of the driving force and a big reason why we've had the success that we've had. So.
That makes sense. I personally have had the opportunity to meet some of your team members, and everybody is fantastic.
It's pretty awesome. I'm lucky.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So what about obstacles? Let's talk about that for a second. What do you think was probably your biggest obstacle that you've had to overcome since you guys started?
There's been some challenges with team and kind of figuring out that right match and what team fits really well. So we've had some challenges on sort of that side and defining what it is at Dogma, our culture, and really finding the people that fit well within that. My first location, we have a 6,000 square foot location as our first one and 7,000. So they're big spaces. So my first one, opening that up, there's challenges, I would say, more with people understanding what I was even trying to do. I left this high paying career to come and work with dogs, and no one understood it so much. But I would say the second location was actually my biggest challenge. Okay. And part of that is because suddenly I'm not there every day. I'm not having that same kind of, so it was a real learning for me and understanding everything that we keep inside in our brains and we think that we've done. I thought I'd done a great job with processes and systems, and it became very different once I had two locations where I was kind of, the team evolved and how we operated evolved. And I had a lot of challenges on sort of managing that growth that we were having, and also the quality control and making sure that everything was how we wanted it to run, and everyone was trained up and feeling confident in their jobs too. So
that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So when you kind of got through that obstacle, is there any, tips that you might share with other entrepreneurs that might be opening their second location?
Yes, absolutely. The systems, everything that you think is sort of second nature to you is not second nature to your employees. I know for ourselves, we have really high standards at Dogma. Mm-hmm. So I needed to make sure that we had those well documented. Everyone knew what was expected and it was clear, because once people understand that, it goes really well, right? And so it's just making sure that you've got all that in place. And a lot of it was kind of learning on the fly. Anything that I would do differently, I would go back and implement a lot more of that, document more. And I think we felt like we had some really good training processes, but I would do a little bit more upfront training with team before putting them into positions, and just better define some of the traits that we were looking for in what made a leader within the team, or as they kind of progressed and advanced in their role.
Super. That's great. Great advice that we can all probably take note of for sure.
I've learned lots of what not to do in the journey of business so far. So
there you go.
Good stuff.
Is there anything that you do on a very regular basis that helps you propel your business forward?
I would say it's kind of the interaction and the investment I put back in my team. So the team is really important in there. I always want to make sure that they're aware of kind of where the business is going and what the next steps are. So I think a big part of it is spending time with them regularly, checking in with them, investing in their learning, making sure it's learning that they want to and areas that we want. So we've done things, we've had team members who English is a second language and they're doing fabulous, but they're struggling in certain areas. So we'll help them obtain those skills, which have nothing to do with dogs, nothing to do with them, their role, but to help. And we also do a lot of focus on team activities. So we've got a structured initiative program. A lot of our dog training skills that we use, we bring into the team. And we do some fun events and really just that team building and making sure that everyone's working well together. Because that's what's really going to keep moving us forward, is everyone believing in what we're doing.
For sure. Yeah. So it sounds like you would probably say one of the biggest keys to your success has actually been your team and the investment into your team then.
Absolutely, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. And is there, let's talk about inspiration for a second. So who is your biggest inspiration and how did that impact the way you ran your business? Is there any particular person that comes to mind?
I look a lot to other successful entrepreneurs.
Okay.
So I know just within my journey, I want to really, life is too short. So I want to make sure I'm enjoying life, and I want to make sure that I'm passionate, I'm doing and really making a difference. So I look to other entrepreneurs that have been able to do that within their businesses, and also that just have these crazy ideas and kind of keep moving forward and challenge what the norm is. So I get inspiration from other business owners, I guess.
Okay.
Building that energy and excitement. So
that makes sense. And I can very much relate to that even with myself. I find that seeing other people's success just drives me forward that much more. So that's great.
Yes, absolutely.
If we were to look back kind of over the period of when you first started Dogma till now, is there anything outside of, I know you shared the component when you first opened the second location, lots of things that you would have done differently, but anything else just in general with the business that you wish you would have done differently, or advice that other people could maybe take?
I would have hired sooner.
Okay.
Definitely. So I would have hired sooner in the business and probably outsourced a bit more, whether that, and even in my personal life, I think there's areas where I may have outsourced different parts of that. I also, I would have probably, I really focused on stuff within my industry. So like I said, I was really focused on the dog training world and networking within my industry and really building a name within there. And I would have probably gone out sooner into the business community, especially the local business community, met up with entrepreneurs from other industries, because it's really interesting once you step out of your industry too. So that was something I would have done differently, probably just would have gotten to that a bit sooner.
Okay. That makes sense. And I'm sure that would be echoed in advice you would give to somebody that was specifically starting in your industry then, is to hire sooner.
Yeah.
And outsource whatever and offload whatever tasks that they possibly can.
Absolutely, because it gets lonely. I struggle with that a lot when you're sort of at the top and you're building this team and you have this amazing, great family and friends and team, but you've got a lot of pressure on you and just yourself. So I think reaching outside to individuals who understand that, maybe getting more support is really important for entrepreneurs, and not trying to do everything as well.
Right.
Which we all like to do. But
we do, don't we?
yeah.
Oh, too funny. So my last question for you is really, where do you see your company going in the future?
Well, we believe that dogs deserve more dogmas.
Okay.
So the one thing we've set the standard. We have a model that's really successful. We are really happy with the lives that we're able to give dogs and how we're able to make them successful urban canines. So our next step is we are looking at expanding that. So getting out of the Calgary market, we're also looking at making dog training. So a lot of our focus is making sure that dog training is easy and accessible.
Right.
And that it's affordable for people so that they can have that support and make sure that their dogs' lives are successful and they integrate well into their family. So we're looking at ways to answer that, and we're looking at moving some training online and finding ways to better support people all the way from when they first get their puppy up until senior stages, to make sure that they know that Dogma's here to help support them and provide them with the tools and the training tips and everything to make sure that's as successful and as stress-free and positive as we can.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, I personally have been privy to some of these expansion plans, and I'm very excited for you guys to see what kind of comes in the future for Dogma and how you guys are going to be able to impact the industry more than you already have. So it's fantastic. Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm thrilled that we're able to tell the Dogma story and share that with other people. And I will be sharing Megan's website address in the article, should anybody want to reach out to Dogma and learn a little bit more. But yes, thanks so much for joining us, Megan, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, Lisa. You too. The pleasure.
Okay.